I have nothing today.
I was just gonna say, looking at the progress on Drawer Road looks good. To see there's finally some activity over here from the brewery going on, which was good to see. So positive to see some stuff moving around good.
I make a motion to move 5C from the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Aye.
Is there any discussion on the financials or registry? If not, we will move on to number 6. All right, item number. Does yours work? Is this working?
I think so.
Test, test.
Item number 6, presentation and discussion by Walker Parking Consultants. Y'all probably got my email today. They were not able, or didn't think that there was enough finalization for them to do a formal presentation. So, they did send this latest version of the rough draft of the study for us to discuss and maybe jot down any questions that we had for them or feedback, so we give that to them to put into a final proposal. And then I was thinking they could probably come to the next city council meeting. That way council, even though a couple of you guys are here, that way we can all kind of be on the same page. If not, we can do a special meeting or maybe a workshop, or worst case, just wait till our February meeting. But y'all probably didn't have tons of time to look this over, but if there was any specific comments or discussion, I figured we could do that now, and y'all can even email me.
Ronnie, you may know this, but have we talked to skippers before? I mean, that is the big lot here. I mean, there's 40% is covered by city lots and 60% outside, and out of those, skippers is the big one. Huh? So there's not been any communication with them before?
As far as I know, there has not been specifically about parking.
Okay. Oh. That's good.
He's also talking on behalf of the EDC about the fence, too.
Yeah, I know he mentioned the fence at our last meeting, or we talked about it. That's good that he's bringing up parking as well. I saw they, looks like they resealed their immediate parking area today, I guess, or yesterday.
Yeah, I had breakfast there this morning, and they resealed it last night, and you were able to walk on it this morning, and he's gonna stripe it once that
Okay, it looks good.
So they'll have a nice looking place there. Is.
I thought that we had a memorandum of understanding with all the town center participants, so that parking is global across all fields.
That was the original parking study. Was that done?
Well, that was recent. That all happened like a year or two ago, and we need to find out if they signed that as a participant in that thing. And then that would help us, because then we can basically people are just going to park down there. I don't think they're going to object, I hope, with the overflow, but it'd be nice to organize it and get them to be part of it, and maybe we could even improve their parking eventually.
Yeah, just some parking stops and a little bit of signage would go a long way, I think. If we're talking about the larger piece of property. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
People have run into the building, so they've dented it up. Now he's painting. Did you see they painted the one building purple today? The first building that there, and Craven's boat's going to be painted too. Green. It's going to be pretty bright down there. We got blue for Billy, and then we get Soul Freaks got their thing going on, and then hopefully we'll get Aspen's. They say they're going to paint it too, so it'll change.
That's last we heard, right? That he was going to paint the whole building?
Yeah, two things. Number one, I talked with Franklin today,
about people parking in front of his business, and he says he's expecting that and he doesn't mind. So, because they close up at 5 o'clock, so the whole front of his place is available. So I think it's kind of a natural thing for customers to want to park there and walk next door. Okay. The second thing I want to bring up is, it's not mentioned anywhere, but if we could have a town center employee designated lot, where the employees of the different restaurants would park their vehicles rather than take up the spots, you know, that we need so bad. And an obvious one would be Hairway to Heaven and the YES. There's 38 spots using the 90% figure. And the only issue might be most of the restaurants, the night shift starts at 4 o'clock, and these businesses are open till 5. So, and Hairway to Heaven's not doing that much business late. So you could have something like, if the EDC and the city would provide a shuttle on Friday, Saturdays between, say, 4 and 1, 2 in the morning, whatever's necessary, that could free up 38 spots where we need them the most right now. And that's pretty easy to do. You know, the only thing you require would be the shuttle, and I think a lot of employees might walk there anyway, because that's what happens with the restaurants in Kemah. I talked to my 3 clients, and they all have designated spots for employees, and don't park, you know, and don't take customer spots. And they generally just walk, and it's a block or 2. So that's something simple, easy, I think, that may give us some remedy. And the other one that nobody talked about was True North. When they close on Friday afternoon, they have, I don't know, a dozen or so spots there. So that's another possibility. You know, each little piece helps a little bit. So that's all I got.
So I had a question on looking at the sketches and all, and I had the map where it says, public spot number 10, which is the north side of, or south side of Jarbo in there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that big enough to make what they were proposing to make out of it, that the city owns that?
No,
Or
this
that-
Harbor owns
so,
that.
I mean, they were making the assumption that it's already been,
I think they were making the assumption that people were already parking there, which they are, and about 10 people can fit there, you know, and back onto the
Right.
street, and that's what they're doing now.
currently, but they
Currently.
had proposed a pretty large thing, and I didn't.
Yeah,
that was
that's one
ours.
of the things that we requested, how many spots could be fit into a few of the pieces of private property, and hers is one of them that we asked, and if you look at that last page, they kind of have a little sketch of how an official parking lot would look. I think because you're not supposed to back onto the street.
Well, I guess maybe what you might feedback to them is make that one orange and say it's private, because currently it's not,
Right,
because it shows as a public lot.
I see.
And
You mean added to the final tally, right?
Well, just in the way they did their map, they make it it looks like it's the same as the main lot and everything else.
Yeah, and that would flip the percentages a little bit too.
It would change a little bit, yeah.
So you're probably gonna lose all those spots along the water to fishermen. Once you pay it. You're gonna back in there and fish.
They're not gonna be there at night.
That's private property though, they'll be trespassing if they do that. Our police can take care of that, we just put a couple of signs out there.
Yeah, like Mark said, they wouldn't be fishing at night, mostly. I was actually out and about when they did a lot of these studies that one Saturday, and it was actually quite a bit busier the Friday before that. Not that it necessarily means that much, but so yeah, I've got a few things here as feedback. If anyone else has anything, or do you think of something later on, feel free to email me and I'll make sure that it gets to them in their final report. And we'll have a Q&A obviously when they're here too. I didn't have a chance to go through this in much detail of it. None of us did.
I gotta admit, I only skimmed through it, but how short are we for total parking after all of this?
It summarizes it in the
Well, depends on the scenario, but how real is this? I mean, do we need to actively seek other solutions? Here we thought we were gonna be in the parking business only temporarily, but it seems to me gonna be in the
Well,
parking business for a while, you know?
Based on just what they did, the nights they actually looked out there, even at the peak,
All
there was
these
still
places we
adequate
utilize
space.
would be still short 23.
But, you know, it could change, but, you know, I think if you got all the private lots, if everybody was in agreement of using the private lots out there, I don't think we will have an issue until at least after the brewery gets started. So you've got some time to deal with some of that.
Yeah, and if we do some of the stuff that Mike mentioned here, but True North and the hair place, then at least we're buying some time. You know.
Yeah, I think the key, you hit it with your very first comment, was officially speaking with skippers and making sure that, you know, people are okay to park in that whole gravel area. And a lot of those figures, you can see in the executive summary that was after 29 spaces were added just through efficiency of paving. You know, assuming that the 2 city lots that we currently have are paved, we can get 29 spots. Yes, sir. Mr. Scanlon.
I have a unique view of the skipper's lot from every room in my house. It's never full, even on the busiest nights. The back there is always empty. Even when it's packed and you drive in and you feel like there's 1,000 people in the street and cars jammed everywhere, that lot, it's always empty. People don't belong, so you just get a lot of density.
Good place to park your truck, though, if you have a big tanker truck or something like that.
Yeah, that guy's never had problems parking 2 18-wheelers, even on Saturday night.
They what?
They don't ever have issues getting with 18-wheelers in the lot on Friday or Saturday.
Maybe I can ask Kurt, you may know this, and if we were to pave that east lot, do we need to do something about those tanks in there?
Not for paving, not even just for parking, it's just down the road, it's eventually, the cost keeps going up. So if you put something higher, infrastructure cost over there, it'll eventually be torn up.
I thought we were told that to do any concrete or asphalt, well, we didn't really talk about asphalt. That if we were to do concrete, they were going to have to go down enough to where they were going to have to pull the tanks if we did concrete.
Yeah, it depends on the load of things, right?
Have we done like a stage 1 or stage 2, whatever they call it, environmental study? Because if the tanks are not leaking, it's not leaking.
Well, supposedly they're filled with sand or gravel. Or
Like in the
something.
70s or something.
They've been there 70 years, probably, or something. So, I mean, if they haven't done anything this far, unless there's some dinosaurs trapped under there that break free, I don't think we have to worry. In my opinion, you know, I would be willing to take the risk. Worst case, we tear out some concrete, and they don't leak. You don't see any leak. You don't see any oil sheen anywhere.
Well, it's not, I mean, there's nothing in there, it's
Yeah, we were told if they got in there and then there was leaking or used to be leaking, that then it would
I guarantee
open
you,
a can of worms, is what we were told.
well, I
verbatim.
guarantee you they have been leaking. All of those old tanks would. You know.
Well, it looks like we're going to be.
remediation project, right? I mean, you have to get rid of the dirt around it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's got to be done someday.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna be a whole lot cheaper today than tomorrow.
And I think I remember someone saying exactly that 3 years ago when we talked about this. So.
Between like 2,500 and 5,000 at least for the phase 1.
I thought we did a phase 1.
And usually the phase 1 will tell you how necessary the phase 2 is. You know, they do like a core sample, they pull it up. Oh, hey, we don't have a significant amount of contaminants. You're good to go.
Well, that's what we need to do.
I thought maybe. We'll have to go back and look. I know McNamara was.
I thought we did that too.
Yeah, I think we did
Phase
that.
1.
McNamara kind of was spearheading that back in the day. But, you know, we're going to be revisiting all of this, and I think we're going to talk about this maybe a little bit further down. probably talking to Cobb Friendly here real soon, just to stir that back up and see what kind of costs we're looking at.
Johnny, one other thing I forgot to mention is another possibility would be have overflow parking down by Home Depot or Target and running a shuttle, and that could be either for employees or customers if necessary. That's something might be doable. Once again, it'd be the cost of having a shuttle bus, which is not so bad, just for Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah.
So, another option.
We can, we can ask these questions to Walker too, like, they're the experts. They have places and have built parking lots and structures in every little city with every weird scenario, probably a lot more complicated than ours.
Valet parking.
Okay, yeah, that's good stuff. Like I said, if y'all think of anything, let me know. And I'll pass it along to them. Anything else for, item number 6? Alright, we'll move on to item number 7, discussion and possible action related to empty EDC board. We received one application, from Mr. Sean Dunnigan, who is sitting here. He was at our last meeting as well. I sent his application to everyone. I don't know if y'all had a chance to look at it.
It was in the package you sent.
I told Sean that it was, very well written and asked him if he had any, technical writing background. So that, again, like before, this is just recommendation for, us to bring forth to council. So, if y'all have any questions for Sean or...
Do you have to travel a lot in your job, Sean?
It varies, I do, at the moment, I'm traveling about once a month for 8 days, but that's usually, sometimes more stuff.
Okay. And what field are you in?
I'm a petroleum engineer.
Okay. So you know about petroleum tanks underground? Okay. Sounds like a good candidate to me. I make a motion that we recommend Sean for the, sorry.
I'll second.
Second. Yeah, did you actually...
We recommend to the council that they consider Sean Dunnigan for the...
Yeah, we learned from past mistakes that we didn't make a recommendation.
Right. Right, yeah, exactly. Oh, the irony.
Well, we can
Can't offend anybody that way.
He's not that green new deal.
Sean, you're a semi-empty nester too, right, as of fairly recently?
Semi-empty, so we live here on the island. Of course, we got one, who's a freshman at Boston University in Massachusetts, and then my youngest is a freshman in high school at football.
Yeah, I talked to Sean about the board before, and I think with your 2 sons and all the stuff you're doing, he kind of felt that you were busy, but that's recently changed. So, any other discussion? Well, all right. We will now this time, or do we need to make a? Are we just going to make a recommendation? We don't really need to make a motion necessarily. Okay.
I'll vote for him.
All right, we'll move on to item number 8. Discuss project approval process for anticipated EDC funded projects 2022. Ronnie.
Basically, we have a number of projects that we have budgeted for, and technically, or actually, we could probably go forward and have all of these public board message hearings on all of them and approve them. First, we have to, the board has to approve a project, And then we set a public hearing date for comments, and that, you know, that has to be 72 hours out. And that goes to the city secretary, sets up a public hearing date for this board and the public. And she places a notice in the Galveston Daily News. And then the public, it runs in the paper. That could take 4 days in a perfect world. Then there's 10 calendar days have to pass before the public hearing. And once that notice is published, it starts a 60-day clock for a comment period. So we can receive comments either at the hearings, or they can provide comments to the board in writing. And after the public hearing, the city council has to approve the project, and then the board meets again and we ratify the project or modify it if the project is not approved, and then at that point funds can be spent. So if we started today on this, and Christie, you know, got everything out, this, that, and the other, the earliest we could do spend money on the new project legally would be April the 12th. But such things as the engineering studies and all that kind of stuff, I don't think we need to worry about those being, you know, requiring a public hearing, because we need to get that done before we even know if we're going to do the project, to get our cost.
This is for any size project, any size whatsoever?
Well, in a city with a population under 20,000, you don't have to have these hearings, but we always, as a matter of course, do this. It's not for any project. I think it has to be, you know, over 10,000 or something, but yeah, it's better to do it this way. And it's approved in the budget, but you still need to have a project thing. I don't think it's we could look at how they define projects. Like if we want to put a banner up, we don't have to get a project approval or something, or paint things. But whenever we're going to do any kind of infrastructure or some big project like paving the parking lot, or the other one is are we going to end up paying if we contribute to the palm tree project or something? We might want to look at that. A lot of the projects, the town center project's already been approved, so also technically we don't have to have this because it was approved. This is part of the town center project. We're in phase 3 or 2 now. So, you know, you could argue that.
So things like if you're continuing to improve the lighting or having to
yeah,
the parking lot,
sidewalks, landscaping, all that was approved in the original project, and we actually had to have a vote on it.
So this would be things that were out of the scope of
the
center.
Mm-hmm. But it's the safest. This is the most conservative and safest way to do it. That way, everybody, you know, gets to have a say so. And as we tried to get we did this for the town center project, and a number of the older, some of the other residents objected. The ones that were, you know, pretty much against doing anything. And they actually got a petition together, and first they got an attorney and went to a judge and filed a temporary restraining order, so we couldn't go forward. Then they got a petition together, and if you get the signatures of 10% of the registered voters, then they can require that this project go to the voters in an election. So there are other options that the citizens have. And of course, the city council has to approve the project too. So if we approve it, have a public hearing, city council approve it, it goes forward. Unless, and none of these are projects that are controversial. So, you know, it would be unusual that anything like that would get out in our way. The main thing I think we need to do is at our next meeting, we need to go forward and have our public hearing. We need to get the notice published and all that kind of stuff, and then have our public hearing at our next meeting, which is February the 8th, and on the parking lots. And the amount, I think, is not as critical that it be exactly the correct amount, as just more the scope of the amount. You know, it needs to be approximately what it's going to be. That's my opinion on that.
So that process is for including items that have been approved in the budget?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're making it like this just because we include people, right? This is not something we have to do, but we
Well,
have already done it that way.
yeah, it's a state law. It's in the,
Oh, it is, okay.
it's development code, but like I said, it also says in there, if you have a city under 20,000, you don't have to have a public hearing, you know, on like a, so, you know, but this is typically the way every EDC does it. And it just gives, because I'm sure there's been abuse in the past, so it's just a safety valve thing. I mean, 60 days and the publishing it and this, that, and the other.
So it's a good time to look at the sources and uses statement that I updated. I don't know if you'll have had a chance to look at that, but you can kind of see some of the projects that, you know, would fall into this flow chart.
Would you like me to?
But just to take an example then, even, I mean, the money that we allocated for the Draw Road project, that should have been a public hearing, is what you're saying?
That was through a bond.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, we spent money to buy property or pay for part of it or something. Yeah, technically we may have needed to do that. But, you know, it's sanctioned by the county government, and I mean, it's not like, and I know Kemah, they haven't ever approved any projects I found there, so it's just, like I said, it's kind of a safety valve. We're a city under 20,000 population, so they can't really call us on anything that we've done wrong.
But the thing is, either we need to do it on everything, or we need to do it decide on what things we do it on, because otherwise it just becomes a roll of the dice, huh?
I think we need to do it on big things like this, which are kind of
Yeah, but then we need to define what big things are.
Yeah, right. And the more of those, if we can do multiple multiple projects at one hearing, we would need to, you know, we haven't got anything else. We've got it in our budget to do other projects. So, the big thing is this.
Yes, sir.
Since it's under 20,000 people, I believe this is right, if it's in your budget, that does go to the public. And so the public have a right to come and go against the
Budget.
budget.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody hear their voices. But since this is not a budgeted item, two things have to happen. It's up to EDC to decide if they want to put it out to the public. And two, you still have to go to council to amend the budget and get approval from the city council for the project itself.
It is in the budget though, right?
The palm trees and the paving is not in the budget. The only thing
okay.
that we had was $70,000 was approved for general landscaping.
Okay. I think the general landscaping is, you know, part of the development of the town center, but, so we could do, I would just go ahead and, plan on doing that. It doesn't cost anything except a newspaper ad. We'll probably have to get the attorney to help us, because he'll have to write
Yeah, I was going to suggest
the ratification.
You know, we just don't do that many projects, especially that many large projects or large physical projects like this. So, you know, and really we're only talking about 2 of them probably in 2022 that we know of. So, you know, it's definitely worth just asking Olson & Olson, just very generally, just to give us their, hey, we're probably doing these 2 things in 2022.
Well, we need to find out what we legally have to
The
do, and then
threshold.
we need to find out, you know, if we should impose a stricter rule on ourselves by putting a threshold in, but then we need to agree on what that is, you know, and that need to be approved by the city council, because otherwise we're just sitting here.
Yeah.
Well, I think if it's in the budget and it's a small amount, we don't have to do it like, he said, but if we're gonna do some big infrastructure project, and this parking lot deal could go out over 2 or 3 years, because we may do one at a time, and we may do, you know, who knows. So it wouldn't hurt to do it.
Is there a stipulation in there with jobs creation, or does that not have to do with the?
Yeah, there's a lot of talking of this thing about job creation too. I'll give you a copy of the thing. You can read it at your leisure.
It's got a lot of. I've read it before, and it's.
Yeah. Right, but that
It
doesn't...
wasn't cut and dry to me,
Oh, that
but-
does apply to that, doesn't it? The parking lot, I guess, would help with the job
Right.
creation, 'cause people can come.
I think if it's certain infrastructure, then you don't necessarily. If it's considered job creation. Again, we need to get it clarified by Olson & Olson and figure out what the law threshold is, and then determine if it's typical for an EDC to have their own, if there's not one. And just, but you're right, yeah, we can decide, if it's gonna be
I mean,
physical.
the rule is today, if we don't do anything more than $50,000, we need to have a city council approval, right? And so we're covered under that, but the thing is...
Maybe 10.
Do,
Is it 10?
but do we do it even more restrictive? And we can all have public hearings, but do we... I'm not so sure how much it gains to have too many. We need to decide on what those thresholds are, even if we do it when we don't have to, you know?
So our rule of thumb is always, council has to approve.
This kinda lays it out. I think this is right out of the book somewhere. We had this is what we kinda followed before.
Okay, so what's our course of action? We continue, we go back to Olson & Olson and find out where we stand legally and then take it from there?
Well,
That's my opinion, to ask them what exactly the thresholds are, and then give them these two specific scenarios.
But I think we need to move forward and have the hearings as soon as we determine that, 'cause otherwise we...
Sure. Yeah, I think that was the purpose of you discussing
Right,
this,
right.
right? Because, like the palm trees, we're gonna have to plant those at a certain time, and that's gonna be here before we know it. So that if we do need to go forward with all this, we need to have all of that done, so we can pull the trigger. There's no, actionable on this item, but, I think we need to leave here and discuss it with, Olson & Olson. Give them these scenarios, and if they do say yes, we need to do that, we'll get that kick-started as soon as possible.
And then afterwards, maybe, Ronnie, you can update your flow charts to, illustrate where the trigger, what the trigger points are. Yeah.
We gotta get some more money in here first, so... Sorry.
Any other discussion on, item number 8? Yeah. Okay, moving on to item number 9, discussion and possible action related to public Wi-Fi and internet. Thomas Holland.
Yeah, it's not so much an action item, I don't think, today, but I wanted to inform you what, at least what can be possible. This started out with now that we have that fiber internet on the island, a good, enhancement of life point, not really job creation, but would be to have public Wi-Fi spots. And there's endless options. But the short of it is that we can get Wi-Fi at, say, the boat ramp, Sundial Park, City Hall, or here, and Jarbo, four spots. And that can be arranged so you can be like an airport. You can get an allocated time slot for, maybe you can get it for free for 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever it may be. You can potentially sell access, and it can be, depending on how they set it up, it can be pretty much endless how many people can be on at the same time at the good speed. But it comes at a cost. I've been trying to see if we can do it based on similar to a residential service, where you can have it overlapping. So if you leave your house, you will, you can access as if you were home when you're here, which is possible. But all of a sudden, then it becomes not a monster, but it becomes a bit of an issue to administrate it. Now, this would all be done in the cloud, but the long and the short of it is, the cost is possibly too high. So I wanted to get your feedback. We're talking about basically $25,000 a year. That's what I have so far. They they're quicker to respond than Centerpoint, but not by a lot. So I thought this was going to be half of that, you know. So any comments, any feedback? I mean, it'd be nice to have, but it's probably too expensive in my opinion.
How many people
But-
think would use it?
But the thing is, on top of that, I don't know, I was going to ask Brent if he was here, you know, what does the city spend between the police department and the city? What do they spend on internet a year? Because if they could pick up part of that tab by having fiber over there at the city hall, then all of a sudden, then the calculation may be very different.
Yeah, we're on Xfinity, we're only about $200 a month.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's peanuts compared. Yeah.
We're looking at doing the fiber that's on his plate to analyze that, compare the price for doing fiber there with backup and then the fiber here and fiber at Jarbo and open that public access here and
Okay, I'll talk to him. Is he back at work later this week, or?
yeah, he's up to
Okay, oh, okay. I'll talk to him, at least I can give him the information I have, so he has that. Because these,
There's a lot too, is a lot of places, cities are putting them, I know, spots on all their lights and stuff, so I know Centerpoint has all the lights. So, I mean, all of this stuff is really fast changing and they think you need power. And then you just need the signal.
but, you know, this also has the opportunity, being that we have so many boats in the city. One idea would be to, you know, if you have a point at the sundial, you can beam that across to around Opus, and then they can distribute from there. Then all of a sudden, all of those guys have internet possibilities that they can subscribe to. But again, you know, one doesn't necessarily make the other one happen. It's just an add-on that increases the cost.
Like you said, somebody has to manage this.
Well, it's not so complicated once you decide how you're going to set it up. It's just that if you can do this, it's a kind of a one-time deal. You can set it up where you have these are the subscriptions options, and these are the lengths of time, and then we have to decide, you know, do you do that you get the first 20 minutes for free, and then you can't log on again for another 20 minutes, kind of like some of the airports are, or do you sell the access? You know? Kind of like.
You're going through a service, right, to provide that. You got someone else.
Well, that will be done by Frontier, who already has a system here. So yeah.
So they would take care of all that.
It will be a one-stop shop. Yeah. But we can manage it.
I just know when you go to, you know, other city halls, for instance, and places like this, you have, public has access to internet. You know, you don't may not have it in every park, but, you know, in the municipal buildings at least you can do it, so.
Yeah, it's just all about money.
Yeah, right.
There's no way
Yeah.
to put here. If we went to fiber, like I said, we could open up.
Uh-huh, oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. Because we went to fiber at our business when our costs went, you know, way down and the speed went up, but.
The problem you have when you go to some of these hotels and stuff, you know, just the free Wi-Fi is so slow that you might as well just stay on 4 or 5G, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was my question. I know we kind of talked about it before too. Is you know, once 5G is actually here, does that change anything? Is this?
Well, I can tell you this: I got one phone is on LTE and the other one is 5G, and there's absolutely no difference. Well, you know, sometimes one is faster, sometimes the other, depending on where you are. It all depends on, you know, which tower you're at. Yeah. But I would not spend money to do it. No.
Yeah, that's good info. At least get it over to Brent. Like I said, it may help him his his research as well.
Yeah, I'll circle back with him and then update you guys how we are.
Do you know if there's fiber at the town center area? Does that ever make it?
Not yet, but that's another one I'm pushing because okay, Tyndall is going to be a no, but Aspens is a decent possibility because there is fiber along 2094.
They were supposed to get back with us about bringing it all the way down Temple.
Yeah, they never have, and I've reminded them several times, but anyway,
Yeah, now they put out signs that says fiber's coming wherever they're installing, like over in Southport.
Yeah, there's much.
So,
They brought it to a lot of the
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of things I've done with these people that could have been done in a 10-minute phone call. Instead, it's a 40-minute video every time.
Any other discussion? All right, we'll move to the last item, discussion of possible action involving EDC sponsorship of the annual CLS Civic Club Cajun Cookoff and Mardi Gras Festival. So this is related to exactly what it says it is, the Cookoff over at Okies, similar to the one from a couple of years ago. And 2 years ago, the EDC was involved in the sponsorship of the stage, and we approved right at $2,000, or up to, I think, $2,000. And we had banners, all the banners had our logos on them, and a lot of the promo stuff had EDC sponsorship, not too different than Jarbo. So Mark Thompson asked if we'd be interested in doing that again, and I told him that I liked the idea and that I would bring it to the board. So this time it would be sponsoring the band, and some of the band costs have gone up, and finding a Cajun Zydeco music on Mardi Gras weekends can be difficult and expensive, especially now with the shortage.
Yeah. What's the date?
The date is the last weekend in February. 26th.
Probably like the busiest time for Zydeco.
It's the weekend. It's the weekend before Fat Tuesday. Yeah, for Mardi Gras.
Mike, do we have extra money from Jarbo?
Not really.
Okay. So we need to go use other.
Yeah, this would be separate funds.
Well, I'll make a motion that we allocate $2,000 from our appropriate line in the budget for support of the Crawfish Festival.
Was that what he was looking for, 2,000? He said it went up from 2 years ago. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah. But down the band was 2,500, but,
Okay. Okay, I'll amend my motion. I'll amend my motion that we approve $3,000 for participation in sponsorship. Up to $3,000 for participation in sponsorship in the Cajun Cookoff as promotional for the city.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Passes unanimously.
We need to put up our EDC banner then, huh? Yeah.
Mark assured me that if this was approved, that our logo would be smeared on everything.
And there's a fun run, and
There's a fun run.
Fun run, 5K, fun run.
So we didn't have it last year, right?
No.
Sure. Yeah.
Where's the after party?
It's a party that goes all
It
day
starts
and all
at
night.
7 a.m. and lasts till they kick you out at 2 a.m. or 2:30 or.
And there's a golf cart parade too, right?
Mark, what band are you talking at 2,500?
Keon and Zydeco Masters. They're been around for a long time. They were on Good Day Tuesday and a couple other local and news stations, whatever. But that's it. Pretty much the only kids between that one and the only kids for fun.
they have a washboard.
Yeah.
I'll bring my clothes.
All right, if that's it, we will adjourn.